Welcome to Scam Breakers, where we unravel the wildest scams and daring robberies that'll leave you speechless. I'm Kisher, diving deep into true crime stories, cons, and heists. Subscribe now and don't miss a single twist. Hong Kong, 1989, in a small currency exchanger. The owner is looking at a $100 bill. It looks perfect, the material, the print relief, the watermarks, even the shade of green, but something about it bothers him. America faced a new threat that could destroy the U.S. economy and undermine the confidence of nations in the world's main currency. The dollar. The threat was perfect counterfeit $100 bills that gradually appeared in Hong Kong, Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, and Europe. It was established that the factory for the production of counterfeits was located on the outskirts of Pyongyang, in a protected area that only people close to the government had access to. It was a sophisticated operation that involved highly skilled chemists, engineers, and printers who had studied abroad. They used samples of real dollars to reproduce every detail, from the engraving of portraits to the location of security features. Each batch of banknotes was thoroughly checked to avoid any mistakes that could expose their counterfeiting. The operation was led by Office 39, a top-secret organization in North Korea that reports directly to the country's leadership. It was created in the 1970s to provide financial resources for the regime. The main goal of Office 39 is to obtain foreign currency through legal and illegal channels to support the political elite and finance the country's strategic projects. Thus, due to numerous sanctions imposed by the UN and Western countries, North Korea lost access to international financial markets, and the production of superdollars allowed Pyongyang to receive hard currency without using official channels. Fake dollars were exchanged for real money or used to purchase necessary equipment and technologies. They all looked strikingly similar to the real ones and were of almost identical quality. After the first reports of these fakes, the United States launched a large-scale investigation. The intelligence services put forward two hypotheses. Either it was the work of an extremely well-organized criminal group, or it was the work of a state. After all, most of the materials and equipment for creating such dollars could only be obtained through state diplomatic channels. The latter assumption was almost absurd. No country would dare produce another country's currency. It would be a direct challenge to the international order. But how else to explain such a large-scale operation? The U.S. Secret Service, the FBI, and the CIA began investigating and nicknamed the case Superdollars. He notices a small anomaly in the shine of the security thread when he looks at the bill under ultraviolet light. But it was only later that the evidence gathered showed that the most isolated country in the world, North Korea, was behind the scheme. Experts determined that the production of superdollars used equipment and materials usually available only to states. This included high-resolution printing presses, special paper, and ink. The CIA managed to find out that North Korea had been purchasing similar equipment for printing money in Switzerland and Germany since the 1970s. Analysis of the bills showed that the technologies used were similar to those used for North Korean currency. The intelligence services also discovered that North Korea received special paper from South America and Europe. It imitated the texture of real dollar paper, which is exclusively produced by Crane & Company. It is very difficult to achieve this level of quality because the paper includes cotton and linen fibers not found in regular paper, and the ink was smuggled in from Europe and Asia. This ink had the ability to change color depending on the angle of illumination, which was also crucial for counterfeiting. Puzzled, he takes the bill to the bank to have it checked. A few days later, the bank calls in experts. Their verdict is stunning. It's a fake, but so perfect that even the best experts can barely tell the difference from real dollars. Who was able to create the world's most perfect copy of a dollar, worth more than $250 million? How exactly did the scheme work for decades, and why is it considered one of the most dangerous financial scams in history? At the end of the 1980s, at the initial stages, suspicions fell on the Soviet Union, Iran, Syria, Lebanon, and China. Further, through the CIA's intelligence network, the U.S. intelligence agencies then began to investigate how Office 39 was able to distribute superdollars in such quantities abroad, circumventing sanctions. The millions of fake dollars being injected into international banks had to be stopped quickly. In 1996, the United States redesigned the banknotes, significantly expanding security measures that made counterfeiting much more difficult. Watermarks were introduced in several places to check for clearance. The security thread embedded in the paper became visible only under ultraviolet light, and microprinting and color transitions were also changed. By 2003, the design had been implemented for all major denominations: $5, $10, $20, $50, and $100 bills. In addition, the United States began to cooperate with central banks and financial institutions around the world to identify superdollars. Banking institutions received special instructions to recognize counterfeits and merchants, particularly in Asia, where counterfeit money was often in circulation, received additional training. The United States also began to put pressure on North Korea through the UN and partners, but the DPRK denied any involvement. As a result, the UN and financial organizations imposed new sanctions on North Korean banks and companies suspected of distributing counterfeit money. North Korean accounts in international banks were also frozen, as it could potentially affect the U.S. economy, threaten inflation, and undermine the U.S. reputation as a financial leader. Intelligence revealed that the bills were mostly illegally transferred through diplomatic channels, including North Korean embassies and international criminal networks. The superdollars were used to pay for smuggled supplies from countries willing to trade around sanctions. It is known that Pyongyang actively cooperated with Iran and Syria, among others. North Korea purchased dual-use technologies such as uranium enrichment, centrifuges, computers, and equipment for building missiles and nuclear warheads. More precisely, most of the superdollars were used to finance the nuclear program, which posed a direct threat to the security of the United States and its allies. In addition to financing military and nuclear programs, superdollars were used to ensure the loyalty of political elites and maintain the army. This was an important element in maintaining the stability of the Kim Jong-il regime and later the Kim Jong-un regime. The United States began a series of measures to reduce the number of superdollars in circulation. In addition, U.S. intelligence agencies, together with foreign partners, effectively eliminated distribution channels. In the 2000s, the United States organized Operation SAFE, which combined the efforts of intelligence agencies from several countries. They closed down suspicious banks, detained smugglers transporting superdollars, and seized large quantities of counterfeits in Southeast Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. All couriers, as before, indicated ties to North Korean diplomats. In 2005, agents raided the Banco Delta Asia in Macau. It was accused of money laundering for the DPR. This was one of the first public cases in which an international bank was directly accused of cooperating with the North Korean regime. After that, Macau's banking sector was subjected to significant regulation, which in turn significantly complicated the DPRK's access to the global financial system. As a result of comprehensive actions by intelligence agencies and international partners in the mid-2000s, the United States managed to significantly reduce the spread of superdollars. The introduction of a new banknote design and tighter controls reduced the volume of counterfeiting. However, counterfeit bills still sometimes appear in circulation, indicating the presence of leftover batches produced in the DPRK. It is estimated that North Korea produced more than $250 million worth of superdollars, making this scheme one of the largest currency counterfeiting operations in history. You can watch more interesting videos about financial scams and other related topics on my channel. Thank you for watching.